Welcome everyone. Joe Tarnowski with ECRM and RangeMe, and I have with me today Joseph Trousdale, who is the co-owner, founder, and COO of PhoLicious, which enables consumers to make an authentic Vietnamese dish in just minutes. And this is one that would normally, if you made it from scratch, would take hours to make. So they are currently in Walmart, in Sam's Club, and on QVC, and will soon be listed with Sysco. I'm happy to say that ECRM and RangeMe have played a small role in helping connect them with these great retailers and food service companies. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the products, about the company itself, and we're going to explore some of the factors behind their success with these amazing retailers and food service operators. So Joseph, thank you so much for joining us. And to start off, give us a little overview of the company and the products.
Yeah, Joseph, well, first, thanks for allowing me to be here, and thanks for being modest. RangeMe's actually played a larger role than just a small role in our success over the last year. It's been great. So yeah, I'm Joseph. I'm co-owner with my wife of PhoLicious. We're a family-owned business based here in Texas and made in Texas. My wife's family has been making pho at home for generations using their authentic Vietnamese recipe that's been passed down from mother to daughter. But how it all got started is my wife and her parents, which Mama Tu and Papa Lee is what we call them, they fled Vietnam on a small boat back in the 1980s when my wife was 4 years old. They were tricked into getting onto a boat saying, hey, give us all your money. We'll send you out here. Somebody will pick you up and take you to the United States, which was very common back then. So needless to say, nobody showed up. So they were left stranded on the ocean in this small boat where they were actually attacked by pirates. Then they were eventually, days later, saved by Malaysian fishermen and then brought to the United States after some time in the Philippines and things like that. So they started off rough to get here. And Mama Tu and Papa Lee sacrificed everything so that they could all live the American dream. So that's how they got here to begin with. And then I met my wife back in 2004, and their family traditions of the Vietnamese traditions quickly won me over, including pho. Her mom would make it all the time, and I'd be like, I'd never had it before. You know, I'm this redneck from Missouri. You know, give me meat and potatoes and some fish, and I'm happy. Maybe a Twinkie or two, and then I'm like, what is this? And then my wife's just like, try it. I tried it and it was amazing. I fell in love with it. And so it became part of our regular lives. And then fast forward to the pandemic, we were married with a couple kids. And when the pandemic hit, all the pho restaurants in the area were forced to shut down. Mm-hmm. It created a void for authentic pho that was easily available. Because normally, if you make it from scratch, it's 10 plus hours, which my wife and her parents can do, of course, because it's their family recipe. But with my wife being an ER nurse, I was a hotel general manager. We had very busy lifestyles, so we didn't have time to make it from scratch. So with the lack of instant, authentic options in our extremely busy lifestyles, we knew that we had to do something to solve the issue that the pandemic had created. So that's when my wife decided to team up with Mama Tu, and they created an authentic instant pho that people could actually enjoy at home. It took a lot of time, effort, some failures here and there on the process, but we finally got it right. And we did. It was the best word to describe it at the time was PhoLicious, and that's how we came up with the name. And it's available in 3 different flavors now: beef, chicken, and vegetarian. So that's sort of just our brief history and how we got started, the oopsie of the company that turned into PhoLicious.
That's awesome. That's a really interesting story. You don't hear that too often. So for those people who aren't as familiar with pho, could you just give a little overview of what it is?
Yeah, it's a very aromatic, flavorful soup. It's just a feel-good, soothe your soul type of soup. You know, like the American chicken noodle soup, the old commercials you have, the boy just there in the winter, and it's the same thing, but it's more aromatic, it's more flavorful, it's more bold. It's just the 5 main spices you've got, like star anise, cloves, cinnamon, coriander, fennel, that you use whole in like a giant tea bag to make is part of the process of making this. And we included that into the instant version. So you get all of those explosion of flavors in this soup that's just very aromatic, very flavorful. Rice noodles versus, like ramen noodles would typically be the fried gluten type noodles. These are rice noodles that have been steamed and then dried. So they're a little bit lighter, but yet it's a very fulfilling soup.
How does one prepare your product?
So our product so you get sort of the same idea as if you're making it from scratch. So you have your bowl, then you have your rice noodles, which it's a big portion of rice noodles. So, and we have these noodles. We were very picky when we came up with the noodles because most of the instant noodles that were out there were rice noodles in the microwave. They get very mushy and soggy, and that's not restaurant. So we took the restaurant noodles, but we had to have them made to where they could be instant. So we work with a specific company that makes them specifically for our bowls. So, and then to actually make the broth, because that's the magic of the pho, is that this is what I was talking about. I'm going to go ahead and open it and show you guys here. So this is normally for a pot of soup, a big pot of soup, you would have something very similar to the same size as this. You've got all of the whole spices in here. It's like a giant tea bag, a sachet of sorts. And this is enough for an entire pot. But an entire pot, you would cook 8 to 10 hours. So you can use something this big. Something for 5 minutes, you still need the same amount of spices to infuse all that flavor in a short amount of time in a small bowl, or a 40-ounce bowl. So you put the noodles in, you put the tea bag in, and then you have our proprietary cubes. We actually make these bouillon cubes ourselves. They're very proprietary. It's just like boiling the beef bones and getting the actual broth in a cube form. So you get the chicken, the beef, and the vegetarian. And so we make those, and that's sort of where our secret is between that and Mama Tu, my mother-in-law's family recipe right here of her extra spices that you put in that just tie everything together. So you just put all that in the bowl, you put it in the microwave for 5 minutes, and you're ready. So you can add your own stuff to it like you would with normal stuff if you want to spruce it up, like actual chicken, fresh vegetables or whatever, but it's great as a noodle soup just by itself. And that's easy. You just follow the ABCD instructions and you're good anywhere.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very convenient. I mean, it sounds very healthy too.
Yeah, it's just like any soups, you've got to watch the sodium. It's lower than going to a restaurant, but pho in general is a high in sodium soup. But it doesn't taste salty. But the noodles, they're the steamed rice noodles. They're not fried. They're not the heavy, those egg gluten type noodles of other stuff, which don't get me wrong, I love my gluten and it's got its place, but it's just a whole different thing if that's what you're looking for. Great.
Who's your target consumer? I mean, I can see a lot of different types of shoppers enjoying something like this.
Well, so to start, PhoLicious appeals to pho lovers everywhere. But if you don't know what pho is, that's what the great part about this is. Just regular busy individuals who are looking for a convenient and just good meal option. If you want to break it down even more, we appeal to the customers that are short on time, prefer not to cook from scratch, but still want that from scratch taste and experience. Like college students, young business professionals, entrepreneurs, family with hectic schedules. I mean, that's how we came up with it. Additionally, pho also appeals to those who enjoy the flavor and convenience of your standard ramen noodles, but are looking for a healthier and more authentic meal option than just ramen noodles off the shelf. It gives you that same feel, but a completely different experience and flavor profile.
So obviously the retailers are impressed, and you've had a lot of success both, with ECRM and RangeMe. Could you walk us through your experiences with the different retailers? Because you were in the Walmart open call, the big find with QVC. You went to one of our sessions. Walk us through how that went.
Yeah, RangeMe has been a huge help in allowing us to connect with suppliers I would have normally never had the opportunity to connect with as a new company, because we just launched in May of 2021 is when we launched. And so when we found RangeMe, it sort of helped us streamline the process of submitting our products so suppliers could actually discover our brand. It was easy to set up our brand with the products on I guess the best way to describe it is like a user-friendly interface on the RangeMe.com. And meeting them and being able to submit to them, like the QVC Big Find was something that just sort of popped up. And when it popped up, I'm like, oh, okay. At first, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I'll apply to this. This looks interesting. And then later we got an email saying, hey, you've been selected to compete in the contest. And I'm just like, okay, what is this? It still didn't compute. And then when we got into the contest with the QVC, the Big Find, and we had all of their big hosts, some celebrity people that were in there, like, wait a second, sort of caught us off guard. We were prepared for the pitch, but we didn't realize exactly how big it was. And we ended up as one of the winners, and we were able to send them, they actually had some in front of them. It wasn't this nice of a bowl at first. It was a plastic bowl with it wasn't really retail ready, but we were one of the winners, and we were in it we were able to sell on the QVC network, which is awesome. And then we learned a lot from that. And then same thing, Walmart Open Call came up, and we applied to that, and we were one of the ones selected there and traveled to Bentonville, Arkansas. And we ended up getting a deal with Walmart and Sam's Club on the spot, all because we applied through RangeMe. Before we started using RangeMe in ECRM, we kept running into sort of a common pain point in the industry. It was just too difficult to get our brand, a new brand like PhoLicious, into a position to where we could easily be discovered by larger retails. With the program, it seemed like we no longer had to just rely on luck or who it's just like we actually had a plan of that we could go out and do stuff. Now retailers can, besides us, they can just discover new products in general, like PhoLicious, more efficiently. And that's one of my big things I really like about RangeMe in ECRM. I mean, through one of the sessions, we were set up with a meeting with Sysco Foods. And at first I was like, how is this going to be through Sysco Foods? They serve restaurants. A restaurant is going to take a bowl, put it in the microwave, and then serve it to somebody. They do stuff. But I said, okay, I'll trust ECRM and their setup of appointments. And I got to talking with Sysco, and they said, can you create a food service pack that somebody could do it in bulk? And that would be perfect for Sysco. And we ended up coming up with a broth kit that allows a restaurant to create a large 100-ounce pot of broth. Then they can get their noodles through us, through Sysco, because Sysco has rice noodles, more traditional, not instant, that you don't have to be as selective, and all the other stuff. Now any restaurant can make Vietnamese pho, authentic Vietnamese pho, quickly in 15 minutes. So you can make a large pot of broth in 15 minutes with our food service kit that we were able to come up with Sysco. And so that was a whole thing that we had never thought of, all because the ECRM set up that meeting with Sysco, and it led to that. So, and now we're in 50 different Sam's Clubs. We're launching in 300 Walmarts. We're launching with Sysco, and it's all within a 12-month period. It's been surreal, to say the least.
That's amazing. Hey, give yourself some credit on that too. So you put a lot of work and effort into that. And, you brought something up that I think is really important, is the fact that, like, you went into that Sysco meeting, like, not knowing exactly how you would work with them. But then in the dialogue that you had with the Sysco buyers, you were able to figure out something that works. And I think a lot of brands might be too quick to write off an opportunity, saying, oh, it's not going to work. But if you put your heads together, like you did with the Sysco folks, you found out how to make something work for both.
Yeah, Sysco still has a smaller aspect of their business of delivering to hotels, sweet shops, college campus markets, and things like that, which we're going to utilize with our actual instant bowls through Sysco. But we were both thinking of, it's such a great product. How can we do this on larger scale to Sysco's main clientele? And they had to be open too. Not every company is open to that dialogue. but you never know. And as an entrepreneur, we don't want to go crazy with ideas and get ourselves spread, because that's one of our biggest issues is we want to do 50,000 things at once. But at the same time, you got to be open to be able to do new things and work with a client.
Yeah. Yeah. And this new relationship with Sysco, I mean, it's kind of like going to help promote your retail product too, because like, for example, let's say Cisco's campuses students are having the food service version in the cafeteria, but then the stores in the university could sell the actual bowls, or they'll see it and they'll be like, oh, maybe I can get this at my local Walmart or something. It's just, it's going to help. One's going to help the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So what are some of the things that you think are the reason why you were successful both on RangeMe and with ECRM? Like, what are your best practices as far as dealing with, engaging with buyers, and as far as maintaining your profile on RangeMe?
I wish I could say it's because I'm the best salesman ever, but honestly, it comes down to our product. We have such a revolutionary product for its category. Like, there's nothing else like it in the instant pho world. And if you know what pho is, and if you've had it as a buyer, and then they actually try it, because they're like, how is this bowl going to give me a restaurant experience in 5 minutes? They're like, how is it going to happen? And then, but they're open-minded about it, and then they try it, and then they're like, what? The product sort of sells itself. But my success on RangeMe has been sort of using the RangeMe guide of creating a profile, setting up with the good pictures, the good descriptions, because that's what buyers see. They can't try your product through the computer. You've got to have your good descriptions. You've got to have, but not too lengthy. You got to grab a buyer's attention, I think, in 10 to 15 seconds of looking at your product. If you can't grab their attention right away, they're going to scroll to the next one, because they're still bombarded with tons of new products. But I think one of the biggest successes that I have been, which I didn't find at first, is the category review section on RangeMe. At first, I was just blindly submitting to companies, just like, look at all these companies I can submit to. Let's submit to everybody and see what I can get. And that was a mistake. That was a mistake at first on RangeMe, because I didn't realize that there's actually time frames that buyers are looking for certain categories. And so if you're submitting randomly into stuff, you could be submitting to a Walmart or a Publix or an H-E-B outside of that time frame, and they're not even going to look at it. And then you've wasted that submission. So the biggest help has been actually learning the category reviews and checking that on a regular basis. See what Publix is looking for, see what Walmart is looking for, and what time frame they're taking submissions for that product. So then you can actually submit to that, and then it comes through, and then it actually gets their attention because it's what they're looking for. So that's the half of the battle, is giving a buyer what they're looking for. And if you're already in that, then you can grab their attention easier. So I think that's the biggest tip that I could give somebody as a new person on RangeMe, is get your profile good, get everything the way it needs to be. Don't just throw it up. Take your time, get it right, get the pictures right, get the descriptions right, so it grabs their attention, and don't blindly submit. Plan it out, look at the category reviews, submit at the right times to the right buyers, and then check the other buyers that are out there. So there's some people that don't have category reviews that you can submit anytime. Then you can go crazy and submit to everybody and try, in your head, I'm going to explode. But it doesn't always work that way. And then you can do that. But that would be my biggest advice to even current people or new people coming into RangeMe.
That's really, really good advice. What about, how did you prep for your ECRM meeting with Sysco? How did you prep? How did you do your pitch? How much time did you leave for discussion?
Well, so the ECRM rep that I had, who emailed me about that, actually sort of gave me a little bit of a guideline of questions that you should have, that they could have, that you need to have ready. So I sort of over prepared. I put like a little PDF together that, like a pitch, like I'm actually going to pitch to somebody in person, because that was a virtual one. Now that ECRM is doing, I'm excited to do the in-person ones again. But so I followed the guide that the ECRM gave me. And that was one of the first guides I had ever had to prepare for a pitch. So that's actually turned into one of my main, I've tweaked it since then, of course, but just use that guide, get the information that you have. I would say don't write long paragraphs under each question, just bullet points. You can write a long paragraph for yourself and try to memorize the points of that paragraph, and then condense that paragraph down into one line that's going to trigger all that information in your head. So you're not just sitting here, hi guys, well, this is what, buyers don't like that. They want to talk. They want to have a conversation. And as a salesperson, you need to have that connection. If you don't have a connection with the buyer, it doesn't matter how good your product is. They've already zoned out. They're scrolling on to the next one. So use the guides that they give you, prepare, and just speak from your heart.
Great advice on both fronts. So you've had all these successes, right? And in such a short period of time, what are some of the challenges, or what's a challenge that you faced and that you've had to overcome since launching?
So I would say some of the biggest ones, like I said sort of earlier, is keeping focus. As entrepreneurs, a lot of us tend to be ADD. We just do. It's just in our blood. We're always looking at 10 different things, and we're like, oh my God, this product is so good. What can I do to go with this product? And I can sell 3 things instead of just one. I think at first we came out with like a peanut sauce, which was actually really good, but it took our attention away from our main sellers. Is at first we had to focus on our main thing, and we had to rein ourselves in. And then I would say trying to grow too fast. Our product was great and people wanted it. And we were excited about it, especially me. My wife is more, she keeps me in line. That's why she's 51%, is because she can say, hey, I'm the boss. You need to slow down. Growing too fast, I think, was one of my biggest problems. A lot of people say, how is that a problem? Well, if you commit to more than what you can do, you can get yourself into big trouble real quick. But then at the same time, you don't want to undercommit, because that can stall your company. You got to keep up with demand, but you can't over demand. So like, for example, when we got the Walmart and Sam's Club deal, we're like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is going to happen fast. We were in a 1,700 square foot facility at the time, which for us was big, because we were in the home kitchen at first doing local, and then we had to go online. We got a real kitchen and all that kind of stuff, real facility. But then with Walmart, we're like, how are we gonna supply Walmart and Sam's Club in this? You can't even fit 10 pallets in here, And so we ended up going to a 10,000 square foot facility in preparation for that. Well, then through Walmart, they had a restructure. They switched buyers. Sam's Club was always on point with their time frames, but Walmart had some stuff. We got a new buyer, so that changed some things. So our Walmart launch was delayed by 6 months plus. And we're like, what do we do? We have this higher lease thing. Are we going to make it? Are we going to make it until that launch? Because we're still too new. We can't go out and get a huge business loan. We're a new company. A lot of people at this time frame have been in business for a while, so they could do that. We just launched. So we had to shift. We had to go back to sort of, okay, until this happens, I need to get our online direct to consumer going like crazy. And so we switched to sort of live social media engagement. We got on TikTok, and we were already on TikTok, but we used the live attribute on TikTok. And I got my full hairnet, beard net, gloves on. I'm back in the production room, just putting bowls together by hand, live, and engaging with our customers. And it sort of exploded. And luckily, our Amazon sales exploded with that. And so we were able to get by until that happened. So being able to think on your feet and solve issues that come up and not get discouraged. That was sort of the biggest problem that we had at first, and not get overwhelmed by roadblocks, because as entrepreneurs, we're always going to have roadblocks. It just happens. But you gotta have that jackhammer in your back pocket and just bust through those roadblocks whenever they come in, and find a way to break through them and keep going.
Yeah, that's great advice. Because for sure in this industry, you're going to have stuff like that happen. We all saw what happened. Well, you launched like mid-COVID, but when COVID first hit, everything stopped. All of the purchases of non-essential items stopped. And they were only if you made gloves, if you made hand sanitizer, that's what they were buying. If you didn't, you weren't getting a purchase for like a year, and people had to adjust. And, things happen. Buyers switch desks and all that. So you have to just be able to accommodate. And your point on not trying to grow too fast is important too. Sure, everybody wants to be everywhere at once, but most of them don't. If you're a startup, you don't have the infrastructure or the inventory or the supply to actually go from 0 to 8,000 stores in a few months. So you want to grow organically and step by step, and then as you could scale up more, you take on more business. So
luckily, you brought up a great point about the inventory stopping during the pandemic. We started towards the end of that, but we still saw that. So luckily, we were starting at that point, so we didn't need a whole ton of inventory. But with our little bit of sale, we were selling 5-6 units a day on Amazon at that point, which at that point, we're like, oh my God, we sold 6 bowls, we sold 6 4-packs on Amazon. We were thrilled. But even at that point, it was difficult for us to get the fresh, because we're very picky on this fresh spices that came in, the importing of spices, because you can't get fresh spices here. Everything else is made here, but some of our supplies are imported. And I could only imagine, if we had started a year earlier and exploded, and then during the pandemic and all of a sudden our supply chain stopped, I feel for those entrepreneurs just thinking about it. I can't even fathom what they had to go through when all of a sudden, you're in 100 Sam's Clubs and all of a sudden, nope, you can't get more supplies to make more for a year. Too bad. I'm glad I can say that wasn't my biggest problem, because we were lucky on that aspect. So if that was your problem, I'm sorry. And I feel for you.
That's great. Good point. So last question, what's next? What can we expect from PhoLicious in the future?
Well, there's some exciting stuff coming through the pipeline that I can't really talk about yet, that we're super excited for, that we can just follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Facebook, and we can announce that as we can. But what I can discuss is that we are attending the Asian food sessions for the ECRM here coming up soon. It will be our first in-person one with the ECRM. It will be our second in-person pitch. Walmart was our first one, Walmart open call. So we're definitely excited to start doing more in-person pitches and meet with buyers. That we just plan on attending as much as we can. It's time to join the Pho Nation. That's what we call our cult of customers, is the Pho Nation. Once you try it, you join. You're part of it. You're part of the family. You're part of the nation. And we've applied for the HEB Texas Best Contest, which we got through originally we talked through an HEB buyer through RangeMe, and then that guided us to that. And so hopefully that's a huge contest for the HEB network of over 300 locations. So that's coming up. Hopefully we're selected for that to move on. I wish, there's some big stuff that I can't say. I want to say it, but I'm going to get in trouble if I say it, so I can't. That's that ADD side of me that I got to rein in.
Well, there's a chance I might be at that session. Is that the one in Chicago?
I think the Asian. No, I don't think the Asian food's in Chicago.
Okay. I'll see. Well, if I'm there, I will definitely look for you. But so listen, thanks a lot. Great stuff. I think you're doing everything right, and I expect to see a lot more continued growth in the future. So good luck with that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us on, Joseph. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.